Are you new to apartment living? Or are you contemplating moving to an apartment? Here are some things to consider if you are. A list of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you aren't new to apartment living, let me know how my list compares to your experience. I'd love to hear about it. Hi, I'm Susan and welcome to the channel. In 2024, I moved to this apartment building. It's a 7-story building in southwestern Ontario, Canada, and I'm on the 6th floor, which that in itself is a challenge for me because I'm afraid of heights. So the balcony is basically a no-go zone, but that's okay. It's got a lovely view. Here is my list of pros and cons of what I've experienced with apartment living so far. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with the good. Number 1, no more unexpected guests. In a controlled access building such as mine, no one knocks at my door unannounced. If someone is coming to visit me, I have to buzz them in as they wait downstairs. This gives me enough time to make myself presentable before they come up. For as long as I can remember, door-to-door solicitors and canvassers were just a part of life when you own your own home. They always seem to come at dinner time or the most inconvenient time, and they always wanted money or time, neither of which I had too much to give. Of course, since COVID, this was much less of a problem. But for someone such as myself who found it very difficult to say no, being caught off guard by a solicitor or a canvasser always made me extremely uncomfortable. I'm very happy not to have to deal with that anymore. Number 2, you know exactly what your monthly expenses are going to be. No more financial surprises on any given day. No more fluctuations in property tax, utility bills. No more surprises as far as house bills go. Rent is rent, and it is going to be what it is for 12 months. Yes, it probably will increase after 12 months, but they do give you 90 days notice for that, so that's a little bit of a fair warning. I'm so fortunate to be living in a rent-controlled building. In Ontario, if a building became a rental property before November 2018, the rent can't be increased by more than 2.5% a year. This building became a rental property in 2017, so just made it. Buildings that became rental properties after 2018 have no rent control, and if your location is anything like mine is, the rent increases have been skyrocketing and making it very, very difficult, especially for anyone, most likely seniors, on a fixed budget. So I am very fortunate to be living in a building that is rent controlled. Number 3, no repair bills. Oh, this just never gets old for me. As a woman who had been a homeowner of a 70-year-old building, I had more than my share of crisis and surprises regarding roofs, plumbing, heating, fencing, outdoor, indoor, you name it. I experienced it, and that stress, financial and also just logistical of trying to find repairmen, that was something I never want to revisit. So having no repair issues for me is such a big, big, big win. If I have something go wrong, then I can either go downstairs to the resident manager or phone them, and someone is here very promptly. For me, it's a huge, huge life upgrade. Number 4, simpler living. I had to get rid of so much stuff in order to fit myself and my life into a 690 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment. Take a peek at this video I made if you'd like to see how I went through that decluttering process. It actually went better than I thought it would, but I'm not gonna kid. It was a big, big job at some points where I thought it would never end. But a burden was lifted that I didn't know I was carrying when I got rid of so many things that I didn't need or want anymore. Here, there's a place for everything, and everything is in its place. Okay, here's the bad. But it's not really bad. It's just different or interesting, or just takes a little time to get used to. Number one, the transporting of goods in and out of the apartment, otherwise known as the grocery haul. Unlike before, it's not a case of pulling into the driveway, stepping up to the door, and unloading the groceries. Now it's parking in the parking lot, setting up my cart, walking to the door, heading up 5 flights of stairs or the elevator, and coming down a long hallway with whatever it is that I'm needing to carry in or out. Let's just say my old lady cart plays a very important role in my life now. And if I had to recommend a cart, I would not recommend this one. These little front wheels have been the bane of my existence and have sent me flying a number of times. Spend a few extra dollars on a sturdy cart or wagon with all-terrain wheels, and you'll be good to go. Number two, hallway or corridor noises. When someone is talking in the corridor outside of my door, it honestly sounds like they are inside the apartment. No joke. It gets me every time. There's about a 1/2 inch of space underneath the door where these little bristles come out. The voices just carry through that little crack and right into the apartment. It honestly sounds like someone is right inside with me. Most of the people here in this building are over 60. I fit that demographic. And so there's not a lot of goings on and carryings on and partying. It's just a little startling when you hear a conversation that is not in the room, but it sounds like it is. Hallway aromas. Carrying on with the hallway situation makes me feel like I'm at an International Foods of the World exhibition. What an explosion of aromas and spices and scents and flavors, of which some can be easily identified and others are a little bit more curious. Honestly, walking through the corridor sometimes is like I'm playing part of a cuisine guessing game. And if you're scent sensitive, this could be a problem. But for me, really, the worst that it does is make me hungry. Okay, now ready for the ugly part of the list. Number one, fire alarm testing. Our building does monthly planned fire alarm testing of the detectors in the apartment and also in the corridor. The alarms may sound for anywhere from 15 seconds to an hour. I believe this will shorten my cat's life dramatically. The ear-piercing alarm causes him to flee under my bed, and I've made a little nest under there for him for exactly this reason. And he does not come out for hours. Poor little guy, I feel so bad for him, but I also feel bad for shift workers or babies or small children or the parents of the babies and small children. Of course, I realize it's absolutely necessary, and I'm appreciative of the fact that they're so diligent in testing the alarms, but it is a traumatic experience for animals, babies, small children, and probably old people as well. Number two, the idea of vermin. When I signed my lease agreement papers, which was a huge bundle of 20 papers, and the resident manager had to read every paragraph point by point by point, I remember him coming to one paragraph where it was describing the issue of vermin. Wait, what? One of the points read, if you discover vermin, please contact the resident manager immediately instead of trying to handle the problem on your own. Okay, there have been no vermin, but I have to admit, the threat or thought of vermin has crossed my mind way more than it should. Fortunately, I have seen no vermin, not even so much as a pill bug. Number 4, neighbor noises. Well, this one would come as no surprise to anyone, I'm sure. As I'm recording this now, I can hear a dog barking right on cue. Luckily, this is a concrete building, and so it is fairly soundproof, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't hear neighbor noises and goings on either side of me. Sometimes it makes me think of that old song from the 70s, Stuck in the Middle with You. I've lived in this building for 8 months now, and it still amazes me how very little I actually see anyone. Yes, we do hear each other now and again, but I really don't see very many people very often. And I think it's because most of the people in this building are seniors. Which brings about my final point, isolation. This is not a fear that I have. I'm fortunately one of those people who likes to be on my own, and I very, very seldom ever get lonely. But I know many people suffer with loneliness, and I know it can be debilitating. I'm not going to lie, I love this anonymous living. In my old neighborhood where I lived for 20 years, everyone knew everyone else, or thought they knew everyone else, or thought they knew everything about everyone else. You couldn't be late for work or take a day off work without someone noticing and wondering why. If you ordered a pizza or went on an Amazon shopping spree, everyone knew. Going through a marriage breakup, knowing that it is the discussion among people around you, it's very difficult. So I'm loving my obscurity now. Certainly, socializing here in the building is very much an option and an opportunity. The resident group works very hard to foster a sense of community. If I chose to, I could play bingo, mahjong, and euchre to my heart's content. But at this stage, because I'm still working, I find that I do see my share of people. I'm not feeling lonely or isolated. Truly, if I ever felt lonely, all I would have to do is ride the elevator down to the lobby and get my mail, and I am sure I would find someone who would be very happy to have a conversation. For me, there is absolutely no renter's remorse, but I know that I live in a building that is very well maintained and managed. I'd give apartment living a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 so far. The 1 or 2 that is not so enjoyable is, of course, the fire alarm situation, but I know that's for our ultimate good. It still strikes me as odd that I share my living space with 200 plus other people. We're all living in our own little cubbies, going about our daily life, oblivious really to all of the others. We're all just hoping and trusting that we all remain respectful and courteous. And of course, we're all trusting that no one leaves a candle unattended or a pot boiling on the stove and burns the place down. Actually, there's no fear of that, not with this extensive fire alarm testing. I hope this list has been helpful in offering some points to consider if you are contemplating apartment life. Or let me know how this compares to your experience of apartment living. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I'm so glad that you did. Please leave a comment and like and subscribe if you could. If you'd like to take a tour of my apartment, click on this link. I'd love to show you around. Wherever you may be living, I hope your home is one of peace and positivity.